notice, the price could have changed when you watch this video. You can check the current price and discount by clicking the link in the description below. Now, let's check some customer reviews.
Review by Sanborn. I was super excited to get this. I'm a mostly hardcore gamer with a 144Hz GSYNC that is sensitive to input delay and refresh rates. I expected my socks to be knocked off the first time my PC booted and I did some general task stuff. Honestly, you can benchmark all you want, but there is zero perceivable difference between an NVMe and a SATA 3 SSD outside of moving gigantic files. Your games will maybe load 1 second faster. OS maybe boots slightly faster. But who does that? The only thing I can objectively tell is different is I can move and delete huge files instantly. Perhaps it is more effective for someone who is doing 4K video editing. If you're a gamer or just average user, just buy a regular SSD. Trust me. Review by Jonies. Amazing technology. I wanted the 960 series so bad but kept waiting for a price drop that never came. Now with the newer and better 970 series, I pulled the trigger and purchased one. This is the first time I've actually got my hands on an NVMe drive. I always thought they were about the size of RAM, but they are closer to a stick of gum in size. I can't believe how small they are. Installation is easy as long as you can get to it. In my case it's between PCIe slots, so I had to remove my graphics card to install it. The BIOS saw it right away. Then I simply used free partition copying software to transfer the logical partitions in MBR2 from my 750 EVO to my new 970. Then I set BIOS to boot from the new stick of gum and disabled the others. As a final step, I removed drive letters from the 2 reserved partitions on the boot drive and reformatted the old boot drive to a blank GPT. I can definitively tell a difference when loading applications with a large footprint compared to the SATA-based SSD. I was hoping to see a noticeable difference in boot time to desktop, but it's hard to tell. But when moving from Samsung SSD to faster Samsung SSD, trying to notice time savings is like splitting hairs. At this price point, the drive is worth every penny. Edit. Included a benchmark, 2,759 megabytes, sec write, and 2,313 megabytes, sec read. If you remember 3.5 floppies, this is like reading 1915 diskettes every second. Edit 2. After realizing that I wasn't getting the rated speed, which no one will probably actually see, I started to look into it and I made sure that I had the latest BIOS update, the latest chipset and storage drivers, and the Samsung NVMe driver. After doing all that, I reran the benchmark and now I'm over the 3000 megabytes sec mark. It's fast out of the box, but with proper setup it can be much faster. Review by Nate in Florida. Edit the 30th of March 2019. Well, the usual Samsung witchcraft ensued after a few months of use. Contrary to what the benchmark test still says, this drive is now as slow and unresponsive as the Kingston drive that I have since thrown away. Its mojo and badassery disappeared after an update installed. It's still a cool little drive, but it looks like it's been throttled back, possibly due to faster drives being in the works. Original review. So far so good. I had a pre-installed Kingston M.2 SATA drive in my MSI gaming laptop and it did the job. Just not very quickly. After cloning my system over to the 970 EVO, I was eager to see the difference in speed. To my surprise, the boot time didn't really change. It might be half a second faster. So little I began to wonder if the price was worth it. I decided to open Adobe Lightroom, as that is what I primarily use this computer for. I had processed a batch of photos with the old drive and it had taken roughly 5 minutes to finish. I processed the same batch with the 970 EVO and it blew my mind. 45 seconds from import to batch adjustment and export. I am so happy with this drive. My photography work will happen so much quicker now. Attaching the crystal mark scores for both my old Kingston and the 970 EVO. I was hesitant to spend this much on a drive, but now I can't wait to upgrade my desktop with one of these. Review by everyone is another you. I have a 15 inches Retina MacBook Pro that was purchased new, fully loaded, in June 2014 with a 1TB SSD. According to my About This Mac screen, Apple considers this machine a MacBook Pro, Retina, 15-inch, late 2013, and the bottom is stamped Model A1398. A couple months ago, a routine disk utility scan revealed corruption on the SSD that couldn't be repaired. I formatted the drive and reloaded macOS High Sierra 10.13.6. A few days after I did this, the factory SSD suddenly quit working completely, and I was unable to boot the machine because it couldn't find a local drive. My neighborhood Mac repair shop couldn't even get the drive to identify itself in a sled attached to another Mac. So something finally went wrong with it at the chip level, and it failed. Unfortunately, a 1TB replacement SSD from Apple was $600 plus $100 labor. NOWC's aftermarket drives suffer terrible reviews about product quality and heat issues. Enter these two parts available on Amazon. The Samsung 970 EVO 2TB NVMe PCIe M.2 2280 SSD V7E500BW and the JSER 12 Plus 16-pin 2014-2015 MacBook to M.2 NGFFM key SSD convert card for A1493, A1502, A1465, A1466. With these two parts, I was able to upgrade to a much faster *2TB SSD for about $800. That's double the original storage space and over triple the speed of the factory Apple SSD for only about $200 more. I've been running this SSD for a few weeks now with no issues. Sleep mode works great, and everything seems to be perfect, just faster. The only thing I haven't been able to test yet is hibernate, because that only kicks in during sleep mode when the battery gets exceedingly low. And that hasn't happened to my machine yet. If your MacBook Pro SSD has failed and you're looking at options, consider the parts one mentioned, because they represent a much better value and performance capability than Apple's factory SSD. As long as your MacBook Pro was upgraded to a recent version of High Sierra 10.13x or higher, your MacBook Pro will have the firmware update that is needed for this aftermarket SSD combination work. Check out the attached Blackmagic speed results for evidence of the performance you'll get with this combo. Very happy so far, and will post back if I find any issues as time goes on. I'm 3 to 4 weeks in and everything has been smooth.
If you want more reviews on this product, you can find the link in description. That's all for this video, and thanks for watching.